Hey guys, Andrea Dab here. I wanted to talk to you real quick about the lab report that is due this semester. Every science class, every class on for SciTech Campus has a writing component to it, and the lab report is going to be our writing component. So, to get started, you guys are going to pull up Blackboard, and then in the left hand menu, as you can see, my eyes keep going sideways because I'm looking at it. In the left hand menu, you want to click on the learning modules in units part. That's where you have all your course information as far as like PowerPoints and review sheets and things. Scroll down to the very bottom of that page and you'll see lab resources. Okay, if you click on that lab resources folder, the very first item is the lab report. Okay, so in the description for the lab report, it says when the rough draft is due and when the final draft is due. So as you guys can see, that rough draft date is fast approaching, which means that you need to go ahead and get this started. I always advise students to try to visit the Reading Writing Center on main campus. There are bookmarks for you in the classroom. Make sure that you visit the Reading Writing Center so that you can get help with grammar, the way that your paper flows, things like that, because let's face it, we're all here to be in the healthcare field, and English is probably not one of our strong suits, and that's okay. The biggest thing that we want to focus on, though, is we want to make sure that you can get your point across, that you have your idea, you have your content, and that you can adequately, convey that to someone else. So I would suggest writing a rough draft and then taking it to the Reading Writing Center for them to review. You guys will sit there and work with a person who's going to go through and help you kind of edit your paper, and then turn it into me or whoever else is there to make sure that they can review your paper and check for content issues, things that are related to anatomy and physiology. Okay, you're going to get those papers back and you'll be able to kind of finalize them and finesse them and tweak them, and then you'll turn it in for your final draft. The final draft is what's graded. So the rough draft is not graded, it's just kind of practice. The final draft is what's graded. Because your lab report counts for 5% of your final grade, I would make sure that these are the best lab reports that you could possibly write. So make sure that you're putting in a lot of effort into these reports, okay? So as far as the actual report itself, let's open up the lab report folder. And the first thing you'll see is the lab report the lab report protocol. Okay, this tells you exactly what you're going to be doing for your experiment, kind of step by step, and walks you through the whole data collection part. Okay, so when you open it, which I'm trying to do, my computer's being very slow. Bear with me. Okay. So when you open it, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to get into groups. These groups do not have to be your class members. These groups can be anybody. So it's groups of 3. So you would be one of them, and then you would have 2 other people that you're recruiting for your group. Okay. So this could be mom, dad, sister, brother, neighbor, kids, whoever you want to recruit in your group. That's your group. Okay. So at least 3 people. Some people like to have more. Just try not to make it too large, because then that's a lot of data collection that you're having to do, and that can get kind of complicated. So I'd say a group of at least 3. Okay, you're going to meet together outside of class time, so sometime that's convenient for you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to collect 2 vital signs. Okay, so you can choose heart rate, you can choose blood pressure, you can choose temperature, or you can choose breaths per minute, which is ventilations. Okay, so you will need to choose 2 of those vitals, and you're going to take them with each group member at rest. So at rest means no physical activity, sitting down in a chair, relaxing, eating Cheetos, before exercise. So you guys are going to be sitting there, take everybody's vitals at rest, and you're going to write those down, okay? And then you're going to start exercising. And the exercising can be anything that you choose, because everybody's physical level is a little different. So pick some kind of aerobic activity like jogging, jumping jacks, riding a bike. If you're very well in shape, you could do burpees. That sounds terrible, but you could do those. So you're just going to do some kind of physical activity for 3 to 5 minutes. If you're using your grandparents in your group, you might want to aim for 3 minutes. If you guys are using people your age or somebody that has a pretty good fitness level, you're going to want to go 5 minutes because you want to make sure that you see enough change that you can record that for your data. Okay, so as soon as you get done exercising, then you're going to collect those same vitals again and write those down. Okay, then everybody's going to sit, eat Cheetos, relax, try not to die. And then after that, you're going to wait 2 minutes. Okay, after 2 minutes, then you're going to take vitals again. So you should have 3 sets of measurements. The first one from rest, the second one immediately following exercise, and then the third one 2 minutes at rest. Okay? So then what you're going to do is then you're going to write your rough draft. Okay? And in order to write your rough draft, you're going to want to go back to Blackboard, click on the second item, which says Lab Report Grading Rubric. Okay, so that's what we want. Once again, my apologies, computer's being slow. Okay. All right, so when we write our lab report, the very first page is going to have your title on it. Okay, so something about like how exercise affects whichever vitals you chose. So like heart rate, blood pressure, whatever vitals you picked. Okay, underneath the title, you're going to have your name and then the group members' names. So your name and then whoever was in your group. Okay, underneath that, still on page 1, is an abstract. The abstract is kind of a summary of your whole paper. It's single-spaced, and it refers to every section. So you're going to talk about, like, what you were doing, why you were doing it, what steps did you follow, what data did you find, and then what was your conclusion at the end. Okay, so that's all in your abstract. That's all on page 1. So on page 1, it goes title, author, and group members, abstract. Okay, that's it on page 1. On page 2 is where you start your introduction. Okay, your introduction is going to be double-spaced. So yay. Okay, double-spaced. And you just follow the parts that are on the rubric. So first you're going to generally discuss the topic. So explain what vital signs are. Explain what the vital signs you took are, what they mean. The next question would be, why is it interesting? Why did we want to investigate this, right? Everybody exercises in some way, shape, or form every day, whether it's walking up and down stairs, walking to and from patients' rooms, chasing toddlers around the front yard, you know, whatever. Everybody exercises, so it's important to figure out what those do for your vital signs, right? Okay. Define all your independent, dependent, controlled variables in this experiment. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to look up the definitions for those. Okay, then you're going to pick them, and then you're going to go to the Reading Writing Center and have them confirm it, and then turn in your rough draft. Okay, I'm not giving you hints about those because I feel like if you read the definition on them, you could definitely figure them out. Okay, all right, and then the last thing is your hypothesis. What did you think would happen, and why did you think that? Okay, so that's all introduction. Introduction should be at least 2 pages long. It's double-spaced. You can write 2 pages. Okay, after that is materials and methods, which is just what materials did you use? You know, did you use a blood pressure cuff? Did you use a thermometer? Did you just use your fingers? How did you use them? What steps did you follow? That sort of thing. That's for materials and methods. And then the next part is going to be your results. You have to have at least 1 graph or table. So if you put all your data in a table, put that in there. If you wanted to graph it, put it in there. But you have to have at least 1, and then you have to label everything. So if it's a graph, you have to label all your axes. Okay? If it's a table, you have to make sure you give it a header. You have to include units for all of your measurements. You need to have a clear verbal summary of what happened. So if you started off at rest with this vital sign, and then you exercised and it went up to this, and then you rested and it came back down to this, right? That shows a what percentage increase, right? And then a what percentage decrease. So what you're doing is you're giving me a clear verbal data of what you found, and you're including some summary statistics. That's your results. Okay, we're almost finished. The next part is discussion. You're going to interpret the data. Why did you find that? What happened in your body to cause that to happen? You're going to come up with 3 questions that someone who is watching this experiment may ask. Okay? And you're going to answer those questions. Okay? Then you're going to go back to the hypothesis and say whether you're right or wrong and why. What data either supported your hypothesis or refuted it. What problems occurred, how they affected your data, a question that you'd want to investigate in the future. You're going to look into that as well. That's all in the discussion section. And then the last one is just the works cited. So for your introduction, you may need supplemental material in order to write it. I suggest at least 2 sources, one from in class and one from outside. So in class could be your textbook or your lab book. Outside of class would be things like a website, not Wikipedia. That does not count. That's not real. But everything else, okay? So you're going to have a works cited page with your citations. Once again, the Reading Writing Center can help you with citations. Make sure you go, okay? And then the last part of the paper is just to make sure that it's readable, it's neat, it's double-spaced except for the abstract. Size 12 font. We know when you're getting crazy with font, if you make it 14 to try to stretch out that 2 pages, we know. Okay, so make sure that you're really kind of following the rubric. This is exactly how I'm going to grade your lab report. So this means that you have all of the same data and all the stuff I have for grading. So you have step-by-steps, and then you have your grading rubric, and then you've got information for Reading Writing Center. Okay, I'm actually going to find that, I think, now that we've been talking so much about it. I'm going to find it and I'm going to put it in this file so that you have the Reading Writing Center information here. It's going to be right underneath this video. So if you look right underneath this link, it's going to be right down there. Okay. I hope that answers all your questions about the lab report. And if you have any others, feel free to email me. Otherwise, have a great night, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.